And now we're live. Okay, so this is a meeting of the Non-Energy Utility Subcommittee of the Environment and Transportation Committee. It is St. Patrick's Day, Tuesday, March 17th. And we are meeting today to discuss to possibly vote on, well, I hope to vote on one bill and discuss another bill. So what I'd like to do is start with HB 34, also known as Mason's Law. And we, at our last meeting, it was 2 meetings ago, actually, we reviewed the bill. Do we want Kristen to go through it? Oh, let me just say, as an update for the committee, we were awaiting approval from the Appropriations Committee for the $250 annual matching grant money. It's beginning in, I believe it's fiscal year 29. And we did get approval for that. So that language is now in here. We had looked at that language before. It's now officially in the amendment. Do we want Kristen to just briefly, you don't have to go through all of it, but just kind of briefly go through the bill again to remind us. So Kristen, why don't you do that? Just kind of briefly go through the bill.
Sure. Do you want it on screen or you just want a brief
Yeah, if you
description?
don't mind, Dan, can you give her sharing ability? Okay, got it?
Up, it is. Let me.
Okay, there we go. Great. Thank
Yeah.
you. Okay, so you don't have to go through, as thoroughly, just kind of, take us through it, sort of what it does and
So I'll go back to this section because that's the funding piece that wasn't included in last week. So the bill is updating, clarifying the definitions to tighten up the scope of the bill. And then what it requires is that municipalities must inventory all private and publicly owned open drainage inlets by July 1st, 2027. And then by April 1st, 2028, municipalities must establish a prioritization plan that identifies the drainage inlets that are the most at-risk inlets. And then completion of all of the improvements to drainage inlets that are identified in this plan must be completed by April 1st, 2031. Language is included in these amendments that authorize municipalities to apply to the Comprehensive Flood Management Grant Program within the Department of the Environment for cost share purposes. And so that's what the new language is that I'll go back to where we added for fiscal years 2029 through 2031, $250,000 of the money that's appropriated to that fund must be used to award grants for the purposes of implementing the improvements in accordance with the bill.
Okay, and that's the main change from what we looked at before, although Kristen had some language alluding to that before. So
Actually,
are there,
I don't remember actually.
I'm sorry. Anything else, Kristen, you want to add about the bill? I think that's basically it.
And the other changes there's been some technical updates, just short title, purpose paragraph, that sort of thing.
Okay.
But that was emailed out to the reprint that everybody should have.
Yes, it was. You should have had the reprint. Okay, are there any questions about this bill at this stage? Okay. Oh, yes. I see two hands. Two hands. Delegate Grammer.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Can someone explain to me, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, page 3, the last line, may not be held liable for incidents arising out of the maintenance of an approved grading system.
Yeah, so that language is basically once the municipality installs an improvement, the responsibility for maintaining it would then, this is for the privately owned inlets, the responsibility for maintenance would then be transferred to the property owner to maintain, ensure safety of that drainage inlet.
So just for clarity, this would apply only to non-public inlets.
Right. So basically, the municipality would be responsible for the publicly owned ones, but the privately owned ones, they're going to go in, they're going to inspect, they're going to install the improvement. But then after the improvement has been installed, the grate, for example, would then be the responsibility of the property owner to maintain that
Yeah.
inlet.
Yeah, thank you for that. I just wanted to make sure that we weren't codifying immunity for public infrastructure, but it doesn't sound like that's the case. Thank you.
No. Yes. Delegate Allen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was just going to move the amendments.
Second.
All right, moved and seconded. Further discussion on the amendments. All those in favor of the amendments, and everybody have their camera on, good. Kristen, can I ask you to, before I take the vote, can I ask you to take that down so I can
Oh,
see?
sure. Yeah, I could just
Thank you.
full screen.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
So I guess the vice chair has left, but all those in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the ayes have it. Now we're on the bill as amended. Any questions about the bill as amended? Would someone like to,
have a
okay,
question.
Delegate Healy.
Thank you so much, and I do appreciate it. I do have a question. I talked with you the other day, and I talked with the chairman of the committee more recently. I do have, and I know you're aware that I have serious concerns about having this apply to municipalities and not to all local governments. I was going to have an amendment put before you, but I'm not going to offer it. After talking with both of you, I've given it more thought, and even though I'm not going to be able to vote for the bill because especially because of the district that I live in, where so many people live. We have 7 municipalities, and interspersed between them and right across the street from them are a lot of unincorporated areas, and I just am not comfortable voting for something that only affects one part of my district and not everybody. So, but I'm not going to offer an amendment. I understand that the bill couldn't pass because it would broaden the cost so much. And so I understand that, but on a matter of principle, I'm not going to vote in favor of it. But I'm also not going to offer an amendment. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'd like to respond to what Delegate Healy said. I appreciate, Delegate Healy, your concerns, and we discussed some of that as a committee. However, let me just say that, as you pointed out, we are not going to be able to do this if we expand it too broadly. We're not going to be able to do it at all. And so I would like to see what happens here. This will give us an idea because of the safety violation, or the safety evaluation of these, the survey of these drainage inlets will give us an idea of the scope of what we're looking at. I mean, it's not everybody, but it is municipalities. It will cover areas across the state. We can see what we're looking at. And then, in the future, if we feel like this is a much more acute problem than we realized and we want to expand it, we can. I just think that this year, we really can't do that. And I, as the chair, feel really strongly that we need to do something here. And this is a really good start, in my opinion. Delegate Long.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First, I want to thank you for your hard work on this. And I echo your sentiments because I know that we've been trying to figure out how to get this done without pushing the envelope too far to where we aren't able to achieve the outcome for such a tragic incident. And so, with that, I was going to move the bill to move forward into further discussion.
Second.
Okay. So moving the bill as amended, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion on the bill? Seeing none, all those in favor of the bill as amended signify by saying aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Opposed.
Delegate Healy is opposed. Okay, thank you. The bill passes out favorably to the full committee. I don't know when our voting session is going to be, but we're going to be on it. So,
Could be tomorrow.
okay. Yeah, okay. Thank you. We have another bill that we passed a while ago that's going to be on it. Now that our council for utilities is hopefully available to get the bill ready for committee vote. Speaking of that, I would like now, Delegate Long, did you have another question, or is that just a residual hand there? Okay, thank you. So now I'd like to move on to another bill that we're considered that is before us, and that's HB 1037, which has a huge sponsor problem. Other than that, let me just explain. This is the bill that would transfer some oversight, not rates and not everything, but some oversight to the PSC over broadband service, and mostly internet, but also voice over internet protocol. This stems from the fact that the PSC, even though these are national companies, our PSC does regulate the states. All PSCs and utility commissions regulate plain old telephone service called POTS, which is actually a term of art, if you can believe it. POTS, POTS. So plain old telephone service, as you heard in the hearing, comes over coax cable and copper wire. Now with the internet, of course, we've had to go to fiber optic cable, and now we refer to it as broadband. So this bill came in pretty expansive, and it was it was to jump over, to start this right away with the broadband responsibility to the PSC. And there are a lot of amendments to the bill. I'm going to have Steve go over it. But basically what we've done with this bill is we have, first of all, excluded wireless and satellite from the bill. So now we're just talking basically about fiber optic, which we used to refer to as wire, but now comes over a fiber cable. It has become a study bill. So it's a study bill in the sense that the PSC is going to investigate how this could be done. So with that, I'm going to let Steve review the bill as amended. You'll see that most of the bill is struck. I know that, there's a lot of hand-wringing over study bills. This is not a work group study bill. This is a PSC, take a look at this, see what's involved in doing this bill, if that makes sense. So obviously the PSC is on board with this. And with that, I'm going to have Steve, kind of go over it.
Okay, I'm going to share screen.
Yeah, Dan, make sure Steve can share his screen.
Okay. Okay, so House Bill 1037 has been turned into a study. There's a couple definitions that I want to get to up front. So I'm just going to read you here. Broadband service means mass market retail service that provides the capability to transmit data to and receive data from all or substantially all internet endpoints, including any capabilities that are incidental to and enable the operation of communication service provided by an internet service provider. It does not include dial-up internet service. Internet service provider, entity that provides broadband service, which we just defined, to a customer in the state through any of the following modes: wires, fixed wireless or mobile wireless, or satellite, sorry. And voice over internet protocol, or VoIP, is a service that enables real-time two-way communications that originate from or terminate to the subscriber's end-use location, requiring internet or any successor protocol to internet. That's actually your phones here are VoIP. So they're disguised as an old-fashioned phone. What the bill does in its amended form is it requires PSC to conduct a study and make recommendations regarding the potential scope, structure, and implementation of commission oversight of broadband service and VoIP service in the state, including considering the extent to which federal jurisdiction preempts state regulation. I will get back to that in a minute. An appropriate regulatory framework to implement oversight of broadband and VoIP that encompasses, and then this is some of the areas that be looked at, not necessarily regulating rates, but other things here, standards related to resiliency and reliability, emergency preparedness, public disclosure, customer complaint processes, publicly accessible and a publicly accessible resource that contains information on their services, including prices. Information on services, including prices, is different than setting rates, which is, if you look Verizon, the main pots, for the people who have traditional landlines still, there are tariff filings, just like for electric and gas companies. You can literally see their rates posted on the PSC website. So the reason that this is, okay, they're gonna keep doing, basically look at all of the things that would be necessary to regulate to the extent possible this area under PSC in the state, and it will report back, including any legislative changes, by the end of this year. The reason that PSC, I think, the reason for this study is that it is the lines between federal and state regulation in this area are a little bit tricky, and you should be able to do it. Other states have been able to do it, but you need to be careful with how you do it, or else you could wind up with a preemption issue. So the point of asking PSC to look at it carefully and over 6 months is to avoid those issues and come back with the bill or any necessary legislative changes to sort of regulate in a way that does not interfere with FCC jurisdiction. That's the basics of it. Is it's a little bit complicated, and it would be best to take a moment and get it right. Basically, is that basically the idea here, Madam Chair?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. Are there any questions about this study?
I will say that PSC says no cost to do.
Correct. The
Wanted to
fiscal
mention
note,
that.
yes, thank you. I forgot about that. Very important. The fiscal note went to zero. PSC said they can do this with existing resources because also because of the short time frame, and also because they just can. They don't have to hire somebody from the outside to do it. Are there any questions about this bill? So even though, oh, I do see a hand. Delegate Grammer, yes. Delegate Grammer has a question, but before I take her question, Delegate Grammer. Even though this bill has no fiscal note, our chair still needs to get it cleared through appropriations because it did have a fiscal note before. So that's why we're not voting on it today. If we're good with the bill, I'd like to proceed probably tomorrow to vote on this bill. Okay, Delegate Grammer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate it. So I listened to the explanation of the bill and what it does. And granted, I come from being employed in one of these industries. I have a couple questions. So usually these days, these industries are usually multi-service providers. So even though it doesn't include, broadband internet and voice over IP and video, because these are all packaged and delivered together, the PSC would still get authority over all of the services that are not in the bill. Is that correct?
In the bill, as you is sitting here, it is a study, and because of that is a good point in that is an issue in terms of making sure that the legislation, any future legislation to actually regulate, would address some of those concerns. Like that is one of the reasons to make this a study to start, rather than as introduced, sort of taking that step first. You follow what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, so everything is delivered over IP, voice over IP. It's not like the traditional analog over a POTS anymore. Everything's IP. So the delivery itself is internet, broadband, video. It's all over IP.
Yep.
Right.
Why can we maybe speak to why that all wasn't included? Because it's whether we included it or not and made clear, the bill clear about what our intent is, it's all included. You haven't included video, but that is most assuredly related to what's going on here. Can we speak to that very briefly?
Talking about cable?
Yeah, he's talking about like FiOS.
Well,
I think he's talking about like FiOS, right? FiOS would be an example, right?
well, cable, everything is over cable. VoIP is over cable. Cable's part of it, but you can't call it cable because it's not Comcast Cablevision anymore. It's Infinity, and it's all over the same pipe. And that's kind of what I'm getting at. Like
You're
it's all so even though you don't say the technical term is video, even though you
Right.
didn't say video, you're definitely implying video in the bill. Can we? And I just wanted to touch on that. Why didn't we include that, or was that purposeful?
I don't have an answer off the top.
Okay, I'll take a stab at it. I think, Delegate Grammer, what we're trying to do is, as you correctly point out, POTS is like almost non-existent, right? And there was, and as you also correctly point out, POTS never did include like bundling. POTS was what it says, plain old telephone, right? So this is certainly a lot more. I think part of the issue that will be looked at is one of the reasons for the interest in this issue and for this bill to begin with, as I understand it, is that basically the FCC has said that they are not going to regulate information. All right. So they're doing communication, but they're not doing information, which is, which would include, I think the things that you identified, internet, data and possibly, video data. So to the extent that that's regulated, this never contemplated regulating content of any kind. So to the extent that, what the FCC does with respect to content regulation, I don't think was ever contemplated in this. It was just, as you correctly say, the pipe. So, is the pipe functioning and how is it functioning? Was there an outage? Is there a consumer issue? And I think some of those services, may wind up being looked at here. But as Steve correctly pointed out, this is why we need a study, because we do need to come back and take a look at it and say, okay, so in the bundling, how is that affected? But I think those are good questions, but I think those are questions that we hope get fleshed out in the study, right?
And just for clarity, I don't mean content. I mean,
No,
like,
I understand.
yeah, the video itself is
Right.
actually, it's all over IP. The boxes
Right.
you have now in your house are all IP. So it's something that the bill kind of implies, but doesn't really speak to.
Yeah. I mean, I think, again, I think they're going to look at, I think that's argues for a study, just as Steve said. I think the bigger issue here, as he correctly pointed out, is, are there tricky federal preemption issues? And I think that we have to sort of, on a legal basis, they have to sort of figure that out first. And then probably, the next thing is to sort out, okay, what services would this cover, right? Like what would we cover, right?
Okay, I do have one more question, if I may.
Yeah, and let me just say this also, Delegate Grammer, I don't mean to interrupt you, but this is starting to happen in other states. California is doing it by executive order. They're really the only state that has gone through with it, but it's been introduced in Michigan, and I can't remember off the top of my head right now, and I don't have my book in front of me, but I know Michigan, it's been introduced, and several other states. So at least in California, we'll have some idea of how they are regulating it by the time we get to the end of this study. So I think there's still a lot of questions, and I think at the end of the study, at December 31, at the end of the year, when we come back and take a look at this, we're going to have to examine all of those issues.
Okay, I do have one more question, if I may.
Sure, and then I'll go to Delegate Healy, okay?
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I want to kind of get at what problem we're trying to get here, because we're essentially asking the PSC to tell us what we think they should regulate. And the bill, I mean, it essentially tries to touch on every part of operating of a multi-service provider. And we're asking the PSC, and just to be fair, the PSC in their guidance has oversaw the biggest rate hikes we've seen in decades. So what, in asking about these, I think it's these 5 points here. What problem are we trying to get at in asking them to tell us what authority we should give them?
Yeah. So let me try to answer it, and maybe Steve wants to chime in if he feels. So I think the problem is because the FCC has said, you know, we're not doing broadband. That's information, and we're not doing that. We regulate communication. Okay, the FCC has said that, and there was a court case also that like reaffirmed that and said the FCC has basically, you know, washed its hands of this part of these services, and so no one is regulating that now. Basically, it's kind of the Wild West out there. So we're trying to figure out is it given that that our PSC regulates POTS, does it make sense on those areas where they regulate POTS to also have them regulate these, you know, broadband? That's basically what we're trying to do. So when you say what's the problem, that's kind of the problem. That is the problem. There's really no regulation, and you heard that in testimony in another bill that you know, that I'm not sure we're in a position to really take up here, but you know, where the answer of the providers was, oh, the competition will take care of that. You know, but the truth is that there's no regulation over this in terms of, you know, things like 911 service, for example. So who's responsible for that, right? And that's why this is something to look at. I hope that answers your question. And Steve, I don't know if you want to add anything.
I would just say, looking at the things here on the list, it's in recognition of how vitally important the internet has become.
Yes.
So it's not quite as important as electricity or water, but it's vital to modern society. And some of the things that we're looking at here are resiliency, reliability. I mean, outages, all that stuff is very, very important, and has become more important. Just yesterday, I was considering if I went home and there was the floor debate for HB 1532 and my internet was out, right?
Yeah.
So like it just becomes very important. I think that's the topics listed under paragraph 2 there,
Right.
in particular. And this will provide an assessment, a more detailed assessment of the cost to implement, actually to go forward with the bill.
Right.
Fiscal note process happens relatively quickly. So there's a better sense of what it would actually cost to do. So you get a more of a benefit cost analysis basically out of this.
Right.
Moving forward.
Thank you. Delegate Healy.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. You're talking about the pipe, how it works and all that, as really what we're attempting to look at regulation for. I guess a question came up in my mind as you were talking about that. And is this like one of the things that they would regulate would be something like where a company might make you pay more to have faster service, for example.
Like
Or they'll slow
throttling,
down-
they call that throttling, right? Isn't that
or slow down your service
yeah.
if you only, you know, cherry pick certain services, and if you bundle everything together, you get some kind of benefit that your service is provided more speedily than otherwise, so that you don't go from one company to another and all that. Is that one of the things that would be regulated under this?
Steve, what do you think? Well, first of all, we have no regulations. This is not regulation. It's just looking at it.
No, but I mean, but is that one of the things they're would be looking at in this study? Is
I
I will say that paragraph 4 here, the
yeah,
regulatory framework, I'm sorry, it's not 4. Where is it?
no,
5, sorry, 3.
yeah.
Sorry, long day. The applicability of the current regulatory framework for landlines, that includes tariffs for landlines, and tariff is just a contract, the stated rates. It is possible, although I think mostly the focus of this is the other pieces, the reliability aspects of it, and less about the price setting. There's
And
price
emergency
transparency, but
preparedness.
there's price
And-
transparency in
Yeah.
here,
Yeah,
but it seems mostly focused on the reliability of the service.
right.
And related aspects, and less.
You're talking about, I'm sorry, let me just add, are you talking about technical reliability?
I'm talking
or-
about like uptime, right? Like if my Verizon Fios goes down for 3 days, right? Or something like that sort of thing. Right now, under electricity, that's a huge deal. Like there are ongoing annual reliability reports that find the worst areas and require them to be addressed every single year on an ongoing basis, right? So
Okay.
like how you regulate reliability under the regulated utility model is focuses heavily on that. So
Okay, so
I'm talking about that kind of stuff.
but I'm talking about what my question is about companies that for financial or business reasons would kind of play around with those things.
Yeah, I think it's being addressed a little bit incidentally here as it relates to paragraph 3 that's right in the middle of the screen. The current regulatory framework for landline would potentially include whether or not that is applicable, like getting into the pricing, which is what your questions are, sort of like bundling of prices, bundling of services, different rates at different speeds, discounts for all that stuff. I think that is probably subsumed in 3 a little bit.
Well, I would
It's
just
clear that
say,
they're not apples to apples anymore.
Yeah.
It's not the same
It's not the same.
business model. So what that comes back from that, maybe it's not applicable, but like it's assessing the applicability, I think, is how it would potentially,
yeah, because
what it
these
might
are
look
not
like.
regulated monopolies like the electric company would be, where we
They're not,
can't
no.
say, well, that we're gonna, limit your, how it'll take longer for you to, turn your electricity on or whatever.
No, they're not. So I
So,
think it's getting it's the study is seeking to answer some questions related to all of this. Is
Right.
what
Okay.
can you do? What can you do in this space, in particular related to reliability? How does it kind of compare to what we're doing for telecom, or sorry, POTS right now? And what would it cost to do it? Is sort of what this study is asking for information back.
okay, thank you.
Any other questions about this?
I'm gonna stop sharing.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you, Steve. Okay. As I said, we're not going to act on this bill today, but I would like to bring it back tomorrow. Hopefully Chair Corman will hear back from appropriations and we can move on this. And then I have one other bill with another sponsor problem that that is a water company bill to hopefully help address a situation in Western Maryland where the rates, as we've heard on several bills, the rates are way out of whack in some of the communities. So that bill, I'm still working with the PSC on that bill, and I'm awaiting some language, and I'm hoping to get that today. So maybe we can tackle that bill tomorrow, or at least discuss it. We need to be finished with our work. I mean, I think Chair Corman would like us to finish our work tomorrow. Whether that's possible or not, I don't know, but we definitely have to be finished by Thursday. So before crossover, we may have some additional work, after we get some bills from the Senate, whatever. Let me just mention that Delegate Allen is going to be the floor leader on HB 34. So anyway, are there any other, I don't have anything else today. Does anybody else have anything else today? Okay, Delegate Healy, it's good to see you back. I should have said that yesterday.
Well, thank you very much. I won't be here tomorrow, though.
Oh, okay. Well, it'll be good to see you back again after tomorrow.
I'll be here in the morning, but I have an afternoon appointment.
Okay, good. I hope everything goes well. If there's nothing else, I will entertain a motion to adjourn for today.
So moved.
Okay, thank you. And we will see you tomorrow. Please listen up, and we'll schedule another meeting tomorrow to take up these other two bills. Thanks.